Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 25 of Parenting Autism. This is Sandy Coulter. I'm joined here by my hubby, Chris, today.
Hello, my name is Chris.
And if this is your first time, we want to welcome you, and we appreciate you taking time to check us out. And if you have come back to hear more stories about us and our son, Bryce, we want to say thank you. We always appreciate that. And today, we're going to kind of do a recap as to what's been going on. There's been quite a bit going on in our world, and we haven't been able to even record a podcast the past couple of weeks. And one of those major reasons was because Hurricane Dorian was targeted right for our home in Port St. Lucie on the east coast of Florida 2 weeks ago. And so, what did we do, babe?
We said, bye, Florida. We got out of Dodge.
Yeah, actually, you reached out to me and you said, I think you sent me a text while I was at work saying, a picture of the news showing Category 4 heading right for us. And we kind of had made a pact. If a 4 or 5 category hurricane was heading for us, that we would not stay. And with Bryce's anxiety with weather as it is, we thought it would be a good idea to leave. And we were fortunate enough that a friend was able to get us up to Tennessee. So it was one of those unplanned, quote unquote, vacation. And I use that term very loosely because our minds were back in Florida. We weren't planning on it, but we did take a day or two to try to block things out and enjoy the mountains and the sunshine. And Bryce, the best part was that he was oblivious to everything. He had no idea what was going on in Florida. And he was so happy to be able to go on an airplane ride that we had not prepped him for. So there was no big anticipation like there usually is, but he did really well. And it was just a big whirlwind that I feel like we lost a week of our life, kind of, we had to come back and get on track. But one of the things that happened when we were getting ready to leave, we were at the airport. And, to boot, I had picked up a cold right when we got there. And so I get this drink called the Cold Buster, or now they call it the Citrus Defender at Starbucks. And we were at the airport and I thought, oh, that would feel so good on my throat. So Chris has some anxiety himself, and I knew he'd be a little nervous because they're going to be calling us to get on the plane. But I said, I'll be back, and you have Bryce, and you can get on. If I'm not back in time, I'll join you. So it was a long line at Starbucks, as it typically is. And when I got back, I saw that they were standing in line to get boarded. And, I got up there and I said, see, I'm back. And Chris had this look on his face like, I don't know, you look kind of pasty white. And I was like, what's wrong? I'm here. It's okay. I told you I have my boarding pass. And you said, you're not going to believe this. Like, what is it? So then tell them what you revealed to me.
I said I found out why Bryce has had his hand in his mouth all the time. And we had looked in his mouth before, trying to figure out why he's got his fingers in there. And we knew that his teeth would be coming out soon because he's getting ready to turn 6.
And I was checking them to see if they were loose.
And we were checking them and nothing. So I don't know. I was just killing time. And I said, Bryce, let me see inside your mouth. And he opened his mouth really wide. And lo and behold, behind his bottom, excuse me, still fighting a cold. Behind his bottom 2 front teeth were his new adult teeth coming in. And his little baby teeth were still there. So I'm like, wow. I mean, I got wheezy because I saw those teeth behind the other teeth. I'm like, that's not normal.
Well, and I think the first thought was we were thinking, oh my, we're going to have to take him to a dentist. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to deal with the trauma and the drama of taking him to a dentist. So that was really the first thought. And we were just getting ready to board the plane, as I said. So when we got on, of course, we're getting buckled in and all of that. And there was no time to do any type of research. All I did was send a picture to our friend who has taken her son to the dentist, who also has special needs. And that was about it. We had to kind of sit there and think about that for a couple hours until we could search more. And then when we got settled and into the car driving home, I just Googled, if your permanent teeth are coming in behind your baby teeth, what does that mean? And I was surprised that there were a number of articles out there, and we learned about shark teeth.
It's pretty common.
And apparently that's common. And then they would say, don't worry, don't panic. And we're like, okay. And then we put it out on Facebook with a picture. And a few of our friends that we know, they even came back and said, that happened to my child. And so we learned that we weren't alone. That was good. And that we didn't need to panic or rush him to a dentist when we got home. That was good. And in fact, once we started touching his teeth again, all of a sudden they were wiggling and loose, which was amazing. So 2 days later, the first one came out.
And we were concerned because we didn't know how Bryce would react to having a missing tooth, a part of your body coming off, basically. And he did have a look of shock in the very beginning.
Few tears.
And there was a tiny little bit of blood, but that didn't seem to bother him. But he did have a couple of tears. He wanted it replaced right away.
He said, put it back.
So we told him that, well, your tooth is already coming in behind it. And so we told him to feel it. And so he seemed to be okay with that. And I was very concerned because, he had never lost a body part before. And we just weren't sure how that was going to go. But it did go overall very well.
Yeah, we gave him, we didn't do the whole tooth fairy thing because he's very literal. So I don't even want him to think that somebody's sneaking into his room in the middle of the night. And I don't know. I really don't know how he would process all that. So what we told him was that he would get 4 quarters, which is a big deal to him because he has to give us quarters to get a new game on his iPad, out of his bank. So we told him he would get 4 quarters, and I kept the quarters in my pocket so that as soon as the tooth came out, I could hand him the quarters and kind of offset the panic of his tooth actually coming out. I think he was feeling the hole with his tongue, as we all have done when we've lost teeth. But I think having the shark teeth there, were actually, that was a blessing because we were able to show him in the mirror that those teeth were already there. And immediately they started moving forward. And then last night he lost the second one. So they're both out now and we should be good. And if anybody else has that happen in the future, we're here to say, don't panic. It's apparently okay. And
I think dentist averted for now.
So we're happy about that. Another, big update that's been going on around here is Bryce is in school. So there's been a lot going on with that. And I think we, have mentioned in recent podcasts that we have put him into a public school with a regular classroom, and he's not in the contained autism unit. We're going for the whole thing. And by the whole thing, I guess I mean that we went for full streamline instead of part ASD unit, and some inclusion with the regular classroom. And overall, I have to say that we're a month in. He seems to be doing really well. His teacher said he's doing wonderful overall. A little bit of struggle with his morning routine. So being that he is such a visual person and he responds well with storybooks, we thought if we put together a visual chart of all the steps of his routine in the morning, that would help. And so that's what we did. And then we have a laminator on hand because we've had to use these kind of things before. And so we actually laminated the picture, put it in his backpack, and sent it to school. And the teacher sent back a note and said that it worked beautifully. So, that's just a tip for anybody that may have a child that is also visual and having some struggles at school with routine. Like we were doing it at home at night with him, but by the time he gets there in the morning, and actually there in the space. I don't know that he was remembering it as well, but actually having it there for him to look at and follow the steps seems to really be working. So we're really happy about that. And we had mentioned, I think in the last podcast, that he had a little bit of a struggle with the music class because of his sensitivity to live instruments and sound that's really enhanced over the summer. But he's doing really well in there now. And he even told us on this past Tuesday that he played the drums.
Yeah, that was very impressive. So I'm very glad that smoothed out and he's doing well in there now.
And they sing songs. So he has told us, in passing. Of course, when we ask the questions, we don't get immediate answers. But at some point, he has said that he's saying Jingle Bells. So we knew that must be music class and then Hot Dog, Diggity Dog. But, he's talking about it. He's happy about it. That's awesome. He also has a resource class of PE, and he has that twice a week. And one of the coaches, his name is Coach Aaron, and Bryce talks about him every week. He looks forward to PE with Coach Aaron. And, it's one of those things that you just know when someone makes a connection with your child. This guy must be really so good with Bryce because he stands out to him. Bryce doesn't talk a lot, and he certainly doesn't talk about situations or other people very often. And Bryce's teacher from last year, she's also at that school when he was in the ESE special needs class. And she sent me a Facebook note and said, I want you to know that Coach Aaron came to me and asked me how he could connect with Bryce and what would be the best way to help him because he really wanted him to succeed. Can I just give a big shout out to Coach Aaron and say that for those teachers and those coaches that are working with our kids that are on the spectrum, to make that extra effort really, really does pay dividends. Because I'm telling you, Bryce adores him and he so looks forward to his PE class every week.
Yeah, we know that teachers already have enough on their plate as it is. And then when you add somebody with special needs into the class, it is an extra amount of work that they have to do to help them. And we really appreciate those teachers that go the extra mile.
Yeah, so big shout out to everybody at his school, but especially Coach Aaron, because I can just tell what a great impression that he has made on Bryce. And he also loves his teacher. So I will shout out to Miss Meneses because she is working with him beautifully, and I can tell she cares. And she sends us notes wanting to know. They have like an app so we can go back and forth, which is great. And so, she knows he has allergies with peanuts, so she lets us know when there's going to be a birthday celebration so that we can send something for Bryce that he can eat, like his gluten-free, dairy-free cookie. And it's just those little things that mean so much to me as his mommy. And I so appreciate that. And speaking of the birthdays, so as we've told you, Bryce doesn't really communicate with us much other than his basic wants and needs, or, if he wants a game or if he's wanting to show us something, which is great. And we take all of that. But, to just like strike up a conversation or tell us about his day at school, it's like, I don't want to say pulling teeth since we talked about him losing teeth, but it's kind of like pulling teeth. And so the other day he just randomly said, it's Aubrey's birthday today. And I don't know if he said get a snack, but I just remember him saying it's Aubrey's birthday. I don't even know if he had a classmate named Aubrey, because that's the first time I've heard her name at all. And then to just say out of the blue it's her birthday.
Yeah, I think he said that it was her birthday, but we didn't know when it was. So we just said, is her birthday today? And he's like, yes. So
I sent a note to the teacher and I said, is there a student in your class named Aubrey? And does she have a birthday today? Because I'll send a snack for Bryce. And so she wrote back, and he does have a classmate named Aubrey, and her birthday is this month. But it wasn't that day, but it is this month, and so is another student. So I was so excited that he communicated that to us, because that's with zero prompting, because we hadn't even brought up her name at all, because we didn't even know that she existed in his classroom. That's huge steps, I think, for us and for Bryce.
Spontaneously wanting to tell us about something is just huge.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And I did ask his teacher prior to this. I had sent her a note, and because we do try to drum up some type of conversation with Bryce. But without knowing what he's doing during the day, it's kind of hard to do that. We know what his resource schedule is, so we can talk about that, but I don't really know who he interacts with in the classroom. So I asked her if he was drawn to any of the students that she had noticed, and she said there's a little girl named Juliana that he seems to be drawn to. So that gives us a name now that we can say, did you play with Juliana today? Did you see her? So that's another thing that I would just encourage the parents who feel like there's no connection there, or you're kind of lost as to what's going on in your child's day. If you can get some names from the teachers, then you can kind of work that into, even if you're doing it one-sided, that's great. And that's me. I'm always saying, did you see Juliana? Or he's ignoring me, and that's okay. But then the other day, he randomly said to me something about Juliana, so it just comes in time. And as we know with autism, everything is a much slower process.
Yeah, I think last year we were a little spoiled with the communication with the school, because in his morning school, we would always get a slip of paper in his backpack telling us how he did during the day and if there's any areas that he needed help with. And then in the afternoon, with the private preschool, we would always pick up the kids there, pick up Bryce at the school, and the teachers themselves would be out there helping load the kids into the car. So we would know from them how their day was and what we could talk to them about. So this year's a little bit different. We don't know exactly what's going on every day, and that's okay. I mean, we don't want to be helicopter parents. We just want to be there when we're needed and know how we can help if there's an issue.
Yeah, and also I think try to get Bryce engaged in some type of conversation about school. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we have some insight as to what he's doing, But his teacher's really wonderful. Like if I send her notes or ask her questions, she's extremely responsive and she gets it. She knows we care. So that's all good. And, another thing is he's got sight words this year that we're working with. And he's getting graded on them now. Where last year, when he was in preschool, they kind of prepped us and they started that. But this year, he's actually getting graded and scored and those sort of things. So they're sending home the sight words and, trying to get your child to do some type of participating, quote unquote, homework is not always easy to do. But with Bryce, I figured out he loves to play this game called Run Tickle is what he calls it. So we run in circles, and then if we catch him, then we tickle him, and he loves that. And so I had his sight words, and I said, if you spell your word, then we'll play Run Tickle. Well, he lit up on that. So
genius.
We have been doing that, and it's worked out really well. So we know that the instruction is that he needs to be able to spell the word, and then he needs to be able to identify and read the word. And so he'll get to do a couple laps of Run Tickle each time that he accomplishes that. And then another way I'm working on his sight words is one of our Artographs photography clients had given me, we call it the word machine, but it's really, I want to say old school, because she used to be a teacher probably about 30 years ago, I would say. And she used that when she was teaching her daughter how to read them with the students. And so it's a machine that you actually press the buttons to record, and then this piece of paper with microfilm on it goes through, and then he will not only see the word on the card, but he hears our voice spelling it and saying the word.
Yeah, it's kind of like index card, if you will, but larger. And then at the bottom of the index card, it has a little piece of audio tape like you would find in an old 8-track tape player. And so you slide this card through the machine, and it's like a tape player or whatever, so you can record and it plays back. So he sees the word going across, and it says the word, and it's really good.
He loves it. He gets so excited about it. And I think it's because, again, he's mechanical. So we're playing to his strengths, which he loves anything that is machine operated. And so, I work in Runticle, and then I work in the word machine. And then the third thing that I'm doing specifically...
We'll put the word machine, whatever that is, in the show notes.
I
just
will.
In case there's one out there.
I was going to say, if you can find one, it's really cool. And then the last thing that I'm doing to help him with his sight words is I'm grabbing books off of our bookshelf that we have. And then I'm going through and having him identify those sight words on the pages in the story. And so, like right now, he has the word the, he has the word it, and that's in a lot of his stories. But it seems to keep him engaged enough that, even though I'm not reading, quote unquote, the whole book with him, we're kind of doing word identification and then reading it in the sentence. So, it's just kind of finding what works for Bryce and the best ways for him to learn. But the great news is that he scored 6 out of 6 on his sight words. So far, what we're doing is working, and we're happy about that. So those are just some tips like what we're doing. And I know every child is different and every child learns differently, but maybe that can be helpful to someone that's out there. So I thought we would share. And then the last thing that I really wanted to talk about is that we are back to re-evaluating Bryce to get therapies. And so the blessing is that after some hard work, perseverance, and prayer, we got different insurance for Bryce again. So we're very happy about that. He hasn't had it for almost a year, more than a year for the language and the occupational therapies, and it's been almost a year for his ABA. And so he has to be reevaluated again for everything. And then he's also going to be on the wait list for the ABA services again, which we understand that's just the way that it goes. But the great news is that we're going to be able to get him back in for language and OT. And we did choose a different service provider this time. This one is much closer to our house. And it'll be a whole fresh perspective. We can see how it goes. They've come recommended, and
they have good reviews on Google.
They do.
And when I took him in for his evaluation this past week, we ran into another mom that we know who has a son on the spectrum, and she loves it. So we're really looking forward to get Bryce started there.
Yeah, and it's only like 5 minutes from our house, and it's also just like 5 minutes from his school. And that's really important because if we were going across town, that 30 minutes, we couldn't get him in time by the time we get him out of school and to the place where he needs his therapy. So it's going to work out really well to get him back in there. And so he's going to get language. He qualifies for like 3.5 hours a week. We're going to start out, I think, with an hour and 45 minutes because that's what their schedule will allow with him coming after school. And we'll do that twice a week. And then we can see if that's effective. And if not, we can always bump it up. And that's going to be the same for his OT. The language therapist, when she evaluated him, said he's very smart. He probably would have tested better if he was able to stay focused. And we are hearing that. I think we're going to hear that a lot in life. That Bryce needs to stay focused because we hear that at school too. He's easily distracted. And, that not that a lot of kids aren't. It applies to Bryce too. But, you just have to find those ways to keep him engaged. And I'm sure that they will. They're just getting to know him. And then with his occupational therapy, would you say that he's still weak in his core, weak in his grip?
Yeah, they did, a few tests like a wheelbarrow where they hold his legs and he's on his
hands,
like a push-up, and, they walk that way. And so, his core needs work, and we know that his hands need help too because of the way he writes. It's very light on the paper. He doesn't use very much crayon or pencil pressure. And we know that that's just weakness that he just needs to build up.
Yeah. And what's great is, he's not able to get this type of services through the public school, so he'll get this in addition, and I think it's going to do nothing but help him. It's certainly not going to hurt him.
Well, he is receiving services.
I know, but this will be
school.
like a little bit of a different approach, because I don't think they do the physical, like with the core and stuff at school.
They don't. I don't think
they
have
do more
yeah.
what's going to help him with his schoolwork, right? Okay, so so we're really, really happy that this is all happening, and then with the ABA, we leave it in God's hands. And I know we say that a lot in here, but that's all we can do. He's opened this door that was supposed to be closed for him to get this insurance. So I know that God has a plan. And if the doors aren't opening yet for ABA, then I know that it's not time. We'll do our end and we'll be lined up and ready. And when it's the right therapist at the right time, then I know that they will accept him and he'll be qualified to continue to get those services.
Plus, we want to get him into his language and OT routine first before we tackle ABA because of the schedule,
True. And what we're hoping, and again, this is, like perfect world hoping, but we really want the help for Bryce with ABA, helping him to go out into public more and how to deal with public situations and social aspects and that sort of thing. Not so much table time, because he gets table time at school and language.
His emotions and,
yes,
and things that bother him.
Yeah, and helping him deal with going outside when there's dark rain clouds. And really ABA, from what our experience is to help us learn how to work with Bryce. Right. So if we're all together and they're able to show us, if you try this or if you try that, this will work with him. I'm just looking for that extra help and someone that's more experienced that can give us some insight, and especially helping him, like I said, in public situations, because ABA, even though that's applied behavior analysis and people think it's all about bad behaviors, it's not. It's about behaviors in general, which can be how he behaves when we go out in public. He is doing much better with the doors, but it can still be an issue sometimes. Like we said, he has the behaviors with the anxiety of the rain clouds, and he's still, he's getting better because we're working with him. He now thinks that rain refills the grass because we told him that it makes it green. But now he sees the positive things that rain can do. And that's what, we're seeing results from all of these things that we're doing for him. But we know that there are therapists out there that are so much more experienced than we are that can help us with him. So
yeah, ABA generally thinks outside the box,
right.
When we try what we think is a normal parenting thing to help him, it may not be the best thing that
it's usually
would
the
work.
polar opposite of what comes natural to us, right?
And whatever they do works. So,
it's proven, and we're big fans of it. So we're excited to be able to have that back in our lives, because I have described this to friends, but I feel like Bryce's behaviors is like playing the game whack-a-mole. It's like you get one behavior under control and you whack that down, and then another one pops up, and then you get that one down, and then another one pops up. And I'm sure the parents that are listening, they totally get that, because you overcome one, you're so excited, and you're like, yay, parent win, and then boom, here comes the next one. So anyway, it's all good, and we got a lot going on, but a lot of positive things, a lot of great things. Speaking out, I can't even talk. Can I buy a vowel? Okay, so also talking about thinking outside the box. One thing we've been doing with Bryce to help him with his language is we've been using Alexa. So you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, Alexa, actually we got it as a gift, I think.
Yeah,
for
we did.
Your birthday or Christmas,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, well, what are we going to use this thing for? I don't know. It just, we weren't really receptive to it, and we even listed it to give to somebody else or sell it, and then, well, it didn't sell, so we'll just hold on to it. And so we looked a little more into it about playing games with it. So before bed now we play word games, and Bryce really enjoys that. He he tells Alexa what to do. So I don't know. It's like a little sister to him, and so
he can boss her
he
around.
has a favorite song. It's "You Say" by Lauren Daigle.
Yeah. Daigle. He loves that song.
He loves that song, so he asks her to play that for him. And then other sound effects, he likes her to play the rocket launch sound effect. It goes 3, 2, 1, and then blast off. And so he's interacting with Alexa. And sometimes I've noticed that it's easier for him to interact with a game or Alexa or something else that's not a human being. And I don't know what that is about him or autism that it makes it easier. But I did notice that. And
because there's no eye contact required.
Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe he knows what to expect the answer to be when he's talking to Alexa. But we've found that it just gets him talking more, and he has fun with it, so we have fun with it, and it's just been a blast.
Yeah, we've been playing word games. We like to play Who's Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, and I figured he's sitting there listening to all of that.
And we'll whisper the answer to him so that he can yell it out loud so that he's actually pronouncing the word.
Right, he's giving her the answers.
Yeah, and it's really good.
So it's a way that we are thinking outside of the box to help him with his language and his receptiveness. And so that's been really cool and something we thought we would share. But I thought I had another thought on that, but if I did, it slipped my mind. So that's kind of the recap that I got going on around here. And is there anything else you want to share, honey?
No, we're just waiting on the next hurricane.
Stop it.
I'm just looking at our windows, and we still have half of them.
We do. We're boarded up
because it is the peak of hurricane season, and when you get older, it's not as easy to put these things up on your windows. So I decided to leave some of the big ones up until we get through the peak part of the season here.
And Bryce doesn't mind that at all.
No, but I would not want to go through a hurricane with him in this house. I just feel in my heart that the long-term effects on him would just be really bad. And then anytime a regular rainstorm would come, I'm afraid that he would fear that would be a hurricane.
True. You know? True, because he does not forget anything.
So anyway, that's where we're at.
Yep, so all is good here in the Coulter Hotel. And coming ahead, we are working on getting some recording equipment so that we can have guests. So I just want to put that out there. Mm-hmm. And it's fun for us to be able to talk to other people as well. In fact, we are becoming guests on other podcasts, and you'll be hearing more about that and doing some speaking now. So, you know, it's exciting for us. We feel like we do have a story and a journey that we have been called to share. And we're happy that people are finding us, and we're happy that, you know, we're getting feedback that it's helpful to other people. And if you want to reach out to us for any topics that you want us to discuss in more depth, or if you have any questions for us, we'd be happy to answer those. And you can reach us at our email address, which is parentingautism@att.net. You can also reach out to us through our Facebook page or Instagram, which they are both Parenting Autism. And we also have our website, parentingautismshow.com, and that has all the podcasts on there as our resource tools and things like that. And I'll have all that in the links of the show notes as well. But I just wanted to put that out there. We appreciate all the reviews, all the feedback that we're getting. And if you have time and you can share a review, that would be great, especially on Apple, because it helps other people find us, like yourselves, that needs to feel like they're not alone on this journey, because we're not. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up and say...
That's episode 25 in the books.
In the books. Have a great one. Bye.
Adios.